Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, CV Tech One, coming at you live and direct, once again with another reaction video. Now, this video was not requested by anyone. It was simply on my timeline, and I keep seeing it over and over and over. And I'm just like, look, I don't know anything about rally cars. I've played some of the rally cars on Xbox. They're kind of fun. Why not react to this? Because it's just keep recommending me to watch this video. So let's just watch it and see what this video is about. I have no idea, so.
The Audi Quattro, Lancia.
Let's get this to 100 likes if we can.
205 T16, some of the most iconic names in rallying. Cars that pushed the limits of what was possible in a way that we haven't seen since. It was called Group B and is still held. What was possible in a way that we haven't seen since. It was called Group B and is still held as the golden era of rallying. Group B was a class where manufacturers were allowed to go all out with almost unlimited power, crazy aerodynamics and new exotic materials. It brought about new technologies like four-wheel drive, semi-automatic gearboxes and clever turbocharging systems. However, it was only for the bravest of drivers. The hugely powerful cars needed a lot of manhandling.
Bro, look, this video is long, so I don't want to stop it too much, but this is like watching that what is it, that MT racing with motorcycles where like people just, you know, they're going 200 miles an hour and people just standing there. There's no barriers here. And did you see the guy just literally jumped over a car, or at least try to you know, jump to not to get killed? This is, and by the way, where is this? Is this Australia? Because I feel like Australia's got some crazy sports, and I love them, because this would not happen in the States, man.
Automatic gearboxes and clever turbocharging systems. However, it was only for the bravest of drivers. The huge
Look at this guy right here.
Cars needed a lot of manhandling to thread them through the tight, twisty stages, away from huge drops and dodging a sea of spectators. But how did this come about? And what can we learn from the crazy cars that won in the
snow?
Era? Rallying went wild in the 80s. The FIA wanted to attract more manufacturers and so created a class that would give the designers pretty much free rein. No power limits, no regulations on boost, and whatever...
No regulations and no what?
No power limits, no regulations on boost, and whatever exotic materials you liked. Rally cars over the years have been largely based on road cars, with rules tightening and loosening on how close the relationship has to be.
There's no way
car and the
this type of race exists anymore.
For example, in the Group A class, the manufacturers have to produce 5,000 road-going versions of the car before it is allowed to compete.
Before it's allowed to compete, so that's on the A class. So B class is just like, if you dare come out here and drive, and if you dare come out here and watch, hey, you're doing that at your own risk. Okay.
5,000 road-going versions of the car before it is allowed to compete. In Group B, to lower the costs and interest manufacturers, they ruled that only 200 cars needed to be produced. Group B also allowed almost endless modifications to be made, meaning the rally cars were nothing like the road cars at all. This approach really worked, attracting many manufacturers to Group B, names like Lancia, Porsche, Peugeot, Audi, Toyota, Ford, as well as so many more. Lancia took the Drivers' Championship in the first... Toyota,
look
Ford,
at this!
As well as so many more. Lancia took the Drivers' Championship in the first...
They party like the Red Sea! It is red in my house, but yeah, the Red Sea. That is nuts. Because that car can go out of control at any second, dude.
First year of Group B with the 037. It was the last rear-wheel drive car to win in the WRC. It was incredibly light, using fiberglass and Kevlar for the body, and was powered by a mid-mounted 250 horsepower engine. It had much larger wings than many cars of the time, with a huge rear spoiler to stabilize the car at high speeds. It was supercharged to avoid turbo lag, and it was incredibly quick on the tarmac stages. However, Audi with the Quattro, one of the most innovative rally cars of all time, a true game changer. It had an inline-5 engine with a very clever turbocharging system that produced over 450 brake horsepower. It had a small valve that kept the turbo spooled even when off throttle, meaning there was
this little thing it's got that much power?
Little turbo lag, making the car quick out of the tight turns. The Audi also had a very aggressive aero kit with a huge spoiler at the front of the car and an even bigger wing on the back. This was one of the first sophisticated uses of aerodynamics in rallying. Drivers said it made the car extremely stable at high speed.
Wow.
The insane power was put through a clever semi-automatic
In the snow,
gearbox
bro.
and drove all four wheels. It was the first car to use a four-wheel drive
In the
system
rain.
effectively. Before this, many manufacturers
Can we get autumn
stuck
too?
to rear-wheel drive
Summer!
as they thought the additional weight
What about autumn?
would outweigh any time gains from the extra traction.
I don't think there's
And
any
yes,
rules.
The Audi was very heavy, and the four-wheel drive system
Dude, you're in the middle of town. Like, where are these races taking places, dude? Is it because this was in the 80s and we weren't thinking about safety? Because, like, this guy is going to take a right turn. And look at those people right there by those rocks. That's not where I want to be, Mr. Blue Jacket, denim jeans. No.
meant the weight was higher up than you would like in a rally car normally. But despite the compromised dynamics, it worked. The Audi had more power than the rest of the field, but could also use it more
Look at that.
deploying more power even on surfaces like gravel, dirt, and ice. Audi won its first race with the car and didn't really stop after that. They shaved seconds, if not minutes, off stage times. The Audi four-wheel drive system really changed the game in rallying.
Quick question. Is rally time trial? Like, it's only based on time, right? There's not like 4 different cars racing each other. It's all about time, correct? Let me know.
But the Audi dominance didn't last long. Peugeot came out with a car that would expose the weaknesses of the Quattro. They used a similar four-wheel drive system but packaged it very differently. Their secret was that they really nailed the dynamics. They built the car to look like the road-going 205, a small hatchback. It had a very short wheelbase, which generally makes cars
you almost had a few burgers right there, dude. Double Whopper. Hey, listen, I got a quick question. Is this the rally where there's 2 drivers and then one is driving and then the other one is giving you instructions? Or is that just a video game thing? Because I remember in the video game when I played, or maybe that's a different rally. Maybe that's A. This is B, right? But the one that I played, the other guy would give instruction of the upcoming turns and that kind of thing because you're so focused on driving, right? I don't know. Maybe that's a video game thing.
A small hatchback. It had a very short
Look at this.
Which generally makes cars more nimble.
Hey, that's good driving right there, though. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Stability at high speeds. However, rally stages are often so tight and twisty that this strategy paid off for Peugeot. They also did everything they could to keep the weight central. They fitted a 1.8 litre engine in the middle of the car, although it didn't have the clever anti-lag system that the Audi did. So the drivers used an old trick to keep the turbo spooled up. They left foot braked for the corners while staying on the throttle. This kept the turbo spooled.
Wait, what?
They left foot braked for the corners while staying on the throttle.
So they're using both feet. Because a typical driver, especially here in America, you're not learning how to drive with both feet. You learn how to drive with one feet.
They left foot braked for the corners while staying on the throttle. This kept the turbo spooled up and gave them immediate power on the exit. But what was really
that's a lot of stuff going on.
Was the orientation they mounted the engine in. Normally, race cars have longitudinal mounted engines with the crank parallel with the direction of the car. However, Peugeot fitted it in a transverse orientation, and instead of mounting the gearbox below the engine like in the Audi, Peugeot mounted it to the side. This meant that the majority of the weight in the car was between the 2 axles and could be mounted lower, making the car much more nimble and responsive in the corners. Low center of gravity means the car doesn't roll too much, and if it's in the center of the chassis, the car is easier to rotate in the corners. The 205's weight distribution wasn't 50-50.
This is crazy.
It placed around 60% of the weight on the rear wheels. In simple terms, rearward weight distribution promotes oversteer and frontward weight distribution creates more understeer.
Oh my goodness.
This rearward bias meant the car was easier to turn in and control through the turns.
Wait.
This
there's 2 drivers.
Distribution promotes oversteer and frontward weight distribution
I saw 2 people.
More understeer. This rearward bias meant the car.
Look, there's 2 drivers, so I'm correct, right? Like, one guy gives directions of the upcoming turns, but does that even help?
Was easier to turn in and control through the turns. You can really see this if you watch the Audi through the corners. The Audi was
in
very
the snow, man,
and produced a lot of understeer. The drivers are trying to neutralize this with the throttle, but they have to correct the car several times through the corner. The Quattro understeers, then oversteers, then understeers again through a turn. The drivers really have to wrestle it through the corner. The Quattro was by no means an easy car to drive.
I can't even do this in the video game.
There is one smooth input on the steering and the car looks much more balanced and easy to drive. There is no wonder it was quicker. It's incredible to watch as these drivers control the car when at crazy speeds on tight and twisty rally stages. Also not forgetting they are threading the car through a sea of spectators on the stage. But why are the fans allowed to be so close to the cars?
Why?
The stages are public roads, meaning anyone could go and spectate. However, it meant that many got extremely close to the cars.
I'm sure a lot of people got injured during the 80s, especially, you know, all that stuff happening in the 80s, right? I find it weird that a lot of, especially in Australia, a lot of races, like especially there's one coming up this week, right? From the 6th to the 9th, Bathurst. It's actually a public road. That blew my mind because, and a lot of people in that video was like, dude, it's a public road. Dude, it's a public road. Well, I didn't know that because I live in America and everything has to be, we have rules for everything, basically. Okay, you can't even cross the street the right way. If you don't cross the street the right way, you can get a ticket. Okay, it's called jaywalking. Like, we have so many rules here, dude, okay? We have jaywalking. Crossing the street, you get a ticket. In Australia, they can just go to any road and start driving and racing people, and people just come out and support. Two different worlds, man. So that's why a lot of people was like, dude, it's a public road. I'm like, yeah, but I would never think that because that wouldn't happen here. It would never happen here. So, all right. Whew. Got that out of my system.
People did get hit, but it was considered to be part of the challenge for the drivers. They often kept it pinned and had to hope.
Part of the challenge, not to hit people?
This guy even had to jump over a passing
car. Yeah.
Many manufacturers understood that Peugeot's approach was the way to go, all producing smaller, short wheelbase cars with all the weight in the middle.
Dude, I can see it in the news now. Audi car hits 2 men and dies during the race. Now they're going to say, oh, Audi, you support that race. We don't support you. There's no way this goes on anymore, right? Or maybe it is going on, but it's more regulated. Let me know. Because I can see that happening nowadays,
MG created the Metro with a distinctive boxy shape and a huge front wing. And the Renault 5 took a similar approach too. However, it was Lancia.
That's a nice, small, tiny car.
They finally scrapped rear-wheel drive after being uncompetitive all year.
Oh,
so they
it's looking like a race car now.
S4, a short wheelbase, 4-wheel drive monster. Firstly, they developed an engine with a genius twin charging system. They fitted a supercharger to avoid the lag of a turbo, a bit like the Lancia 037. However, this created less power at high revs.
Wow.
As a supercharger is directly driven by the engine, it can provide boost at low revs, but saps more and more power as the revs climb. So what Lancia did was fit an additional turbocharger that would provide boost at high revs. So low-end boost was provided by the supercharger before cutting out and letting the turbo take over at higher revs. This meant the Delta S4 was amazingly powerful and had the grip to put it down onto the stage. It took many wins before eventually bringing the Group B era to a close. This era of rallying was amazing to watch. Incredibly fast cars and amazing drivers all pushing to the limit.
This is crazy.
There were different winners every year and cars that looked remarkably different with incredible engineering. However, you can't ignore the fact that it was extremely dangerous. The cars were too powerful, difficult to drive, and not enough emphasis was put on the safety of drivers and spectators. The biggest issue was the minimum weight rule. Cars could weigh as little as 890 kilograms. So to be competitive, manufacturers would do anything they could to get this limit down. This created a breed of cars that were very fragile and not up to the job of protecting drivers in a crash.
Yeah.
Many of the drivers explained that if this weight limit was higher, more strengthening could have been added to better protect the drivers in a crash. Several huge crashes happened. In Portugal, Santos crested a rise in his Ford RS200. He lost control and went off the course, horrifically injuring 31 spectators and killing 3. All the teams immediately pulled out of the rally and it left Group B hanging on by a thread. A few months later, the final blow came. Lancia's Henri Toivonen was the championship favourite when he lost control late in a fast turn. He was winning by a huge margin when he and his co-driver Sergio Cresto came flying off the road, heading down a steep hill. The impact ruptured the fuel tank, spilling fuel over the red-hot turbocharger, sending the car up in flames. After the incident, it was barely recognisable as a car, and both Henry and Sergio were killed in the crash. This led to many manufacturers pulling out, and the FIA
Dude, look at the car
class the following year. You should,
bro. I can see why. Okay, so that answered my question. Group B is not happening anymore. Like making the car that light, driving that way, having people on the side of the road. Nobody said, "Hey, it just takes one bad accident for all this to go bad." Literally just one. Do people think that like the way the car is getting faster and lighter, nothing was gonna happen? Like man. But the way those guys was driving, like that's crazy. Drive that fast, that control, turning the corners at that speed. That's pretty impressive though. It is, as a driver. That's impressive. It takes a lot of skills to do that. But I do understand it though. Like if it's not happening anymore, because I mean that looks dangerous as heck, dude, and people lost their lives. But I will say that I will say this: watching F1 or learning about F1 and watching supercars, I've watched a few videos. Man, the science that goes into these cars are amazing. The way they're trying to get the cars lighter, faster, and yet having to have control. It is some engineering that goes into it that I never really thought about because I really don't care for racing like that. Because here I watch racing, it's just, I watch Indy 500, some NASCAR stuff, but I'm just like, after like a while, I just get bored. Like these are different type of races. But yeah, the engineering and all that stuff that go into it is pretty amazing, man. You gotta, there's some smart people that's working on these cars, But yeah, man, Group B, wow. I'm gonna have to look at some more videos because that was nuts. I'm gonna try to see if there's any more videos, but yeah, man. Till next time, peace.